Welcome to Sputnik, orbiting the world with me, George Galloway.
And me, Gayatri.
Like spring daffodils, the word Marxist has suddenly sprouted everywhere, from Parliament and all over the media, used as an insult, of course. One unintended consequence of this sprouting, though, was to send thousands of young people onto the internet to find out who is this Karl Marx.
There they will discover that Marxism was actually born in London, where the German Jewish philosopher Dr. Marx lived and worked for many years.
For so long, in fact, that there is a thing called Karl Marx Walks, on which an expert guide takes a growing band of interested citizens and tourists through the byways of Victorian London, where Marx was about. That expert guide is Dr. Heiko Khoo, and he joins us now. Doctor, welcome. What is Marxism?
The key distinction between Marxism and the type of ideas which Jeremy Corbyn and others and Jesus Christ have put forward is that Marx tried to create a philosophy, or developed a philosophy, which could scientifically analyse why the existing society came into being, how it flourishes, and how its crises indicate that it will pass away.
Now, you do this tour. Is it getting more popular? Do you think one of the unintended consequences, as I said in the introduction, of all this throwing around the word Marxism, because, you know, to people of our age, it's a common word and we kind of know what it means. But there's a whole generation, maybe two, that don't really know what Marxism means. It might be good for your business, all this.
I'm not sure of the exact correlation between it entering the news at any time, but obviously it's useful if the main protagonist of your walking tour is regularly being mentioned in the news.
Where do you take them? Do you go all the way up to Highgate Cemetery?
Starting in Piccadilly Circus and going to key sites in Soho and then ending in the British Museum, which covers his life and ideas, tries to explain the fundamental framework of his thinking and the nature of the way in which they lived and the problems they had and the political life that they experienced.
So who are your audiences?
We have a wide range of people who attend on the normal Sunday tour, and they can be anyone from a random tourist who sees that Karl Marx, you know, they've been on the Jack the Ripper tour, they go on the Karl Marx tour, or you can have people who are die-hard old communists or their children. For example, a young businesswoman in the city of London, Chinese woman, brought along her parents who are die-hard communists and were sort of brought to tears by singing the Internationale and stuff like that.
Wow.
We take quite a lot of school groups, people, school students studying politics or economics or law, but mostly students studying A-level sociology. We also get some college students from Britain and America in particular.
He did, of course, live in Dean Street in Soho.
Yeah.
There's a blue plaque there above an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
I've been gazing on it for many decades myself. But some of the pubs I understand that he used to go to are still pubs in Soho.
Yeah, in Great Windmill Street, where the Communist Manifesto was commissioned in 1847,
Great Windmill
Street.
That, which is now a kind of strip joints and so on.
Yeah.
That's where the Communist Manifesto was written.
That's where it was commissioned. There was a Congress.
You could blow me down with a feather boa.
The second Congress was in the Red Line Inn.
What kind of people did Marx fraternize with at that time?
There tended to be, or there were quite a large number of Germans. Germans were one of the largest communities in London, foreign communities at the time. And they were people who tended to be engaged in artisanal type activities within what was called the Communist Workers' Education Association, or the German Workers' Education Association. It's the same organisation. And this organisation would hold meetings nearly every night of some form or another. They might, for example, do singing classes, they had dance classes, they had debating of French socialism, they would learn languages, and so it was a sort of multi-purpose educational project as well as a specifically political communist project.
And Marx wrote a lot in the British Library. Did you go there on your tour?
Yeah. We ended the British Library, but the Rad Reading Room's been closed for quite a long time. I don't know why. It seems to be a mystery. But there is, however, the Enlightenment Gallery, and from 1850 till 1856, Marx certainly would have used that, and that now is laid out like a library. So it is quite an authentic atmosphere to go into, to take you back. At the end of the tour, we explain historical materialism, the theory of human evolution and social evolution in that context and development of science.
Do you picture in your mind what Marx was like in the reading room, in the Red Lion, in Great Windmill Street? I mean, what kind of personality comes to life when you're talking about him?
I think he was, on the one side, a kind of odd scholar, which is well described in lots of books, but at the same time, he did have quite an amusing, intellectual, quirky character. He was constantly a bit of a bicker about other people, but that's only because we know all his correspondence. I mean, if you publish all of my personal emails and your personal emails, I'm sure lots would come out that perhaps you wouldn't want to be made public domain.
A trifle irascible.
And all of that, of course, is publicly available with Marx. He was very much a man who loved his family, and particularly his children. He raised the children at a level of intellect which was similar to the sort of description of Renaissance man. You know, the children were raised to recite Goethe and Shakespeare and stuff like that. At the same time, they had tremendous fun. There was a character he developed called Hans Rockler, who was a magician who sold toys. He had a toy shop and he sold his toys to the devil because he was always out of money, which was obviously an analogy with Marx. And the toys going on these weird adventures was obviously something comparable to his stories about commodities, his descriptions of commodities, of different dull commodities, which suddenly come to life.
How do people book up for one of your walks? Because we're definitely coming.
Go onto the internet, marxwalks.com, and you can book online any Sunday tour, or we add tours as on demand.